بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله أما بعد. Today we're going to be looking at Surah, Surah 22, verse 40. Surah chapter 22, verse 40. And before I begin, I want to remind you of the Malik Conference that's coming up April the 27th through the 29th in Charlotte, North Carolina. Be sure, especially the students, be sure to register if you want to be attending the conference. And I encourage as many of you as you can to attend this conference. This is our 10th anniversary conference. We've been at this for 10 years, more than 10 years actually, but this is our 10th anniversary conference, and we've been very focused and consistent with learning Quranic Arabic. So the conference will be on the Qur'an. It's a Quranic conference. We have some of the more studious imams and people throughout the country that will be attending to do the workshops, and they will be addressing the audience, the whole audience. And we also have a play. We have our own culture event, culture night event, if you want to use those terms. The play is called Brother Imam. It's written and directed by Imam Benjamin Bilal. Also, we're going to have Nanette, who will also be a part of the play, and she will be singing in the play with songs that she has written from the Qur'an as a Mali student. Also, we're going to have the band, which is led by Amir Mahdi, who's also a Mali student. So this is going to be our own culture event. It's not an event where we're imitating someone else. It's going to be based upon our own Islamic experience here in America, this play. So it's going to be a very rewarding weekend. So I'm urging you now to be sure to register as soon as possible. Now, in this presentation here, we have students that are listening in, and we also have those of you from Facebook that are also listening in. So let me read the verse first in English, so you have some bearings on what we'll be talking about. It reads, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, those who have been driven from their homes unjustly, only because they said, our Lord is Allah. For had it not been for Allah's repelling some men by means of others, has cloisters, I guess that's pronounced right, and churches, and oratories, and mosques, wherein the name of Allah is oft mentioned, which assuredly have been poured down. Verily, Allah helps one who helps him. Lo, Allah is strong, almighty. That's the translation here that Abu Faris Dahda is giving. Of course, we're going to write a reflection and a comment on the verse. A reflection and comment on the verse. And it may not be the same, and it's not going to be the same as Abu Faris Dahda. So let us begin. We're going to take the key words, and then we will look at the grammar also of those words. And most of the time, a word is going to be affected by another word grammatically. So first of all, we have ukhriju. Let's read it in the Arabic. الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم بغير حق إلا أن يقولوا ربنا الله ولولا دفع الله الناس بعدهم ببعض. لهدمت صوامع وبيع وصلوات ومساجد يذكر فيها اسم الله كثيرا. ولا ينصرن الله من ينصره إن الله لقوي عزيز. Okay, let's go back and we'll take the key words. And we'll translate as we go. So the first one is ukhriju. So it says alladhina ukhriju, and alladhina will be those. Now for those, he says, is khabarun. It's a predicate. Khabarun. And the mubtada'un, which we would need for a complete thought, is dropped, which would be whom would be implied. Whom. So we would say they are those. They are those. That's the complete thought. They are those. Now, alladhina is a relative noun. Therefore, ukhriju becomes a relative phrase. Ukhriju min diyarihim becomes a relative phrase, defining alladhina. So ukhriju is madin. It's fi'lun madin. Fi'lun madin meaning it's a verb and it's past tense. And the wow here, the wow is a sign of the na'ibu fa'ilin. Na'ibu fa'ilin would be the substitute for the subject of the verb. And when we have a substitute for the subject of the verb, that means the verb is in the passive. Whenever you have a dhamma on the first letter and a kasra on the middle letter or the ain of the verb, that gives you the structure of the passive in the past tense. And this will be in form 4, meaning it shows causation. So they are those who were caused. Who were caused, we would say. Now, let's look at the meaning of ukhriju. Ukhriju means ju'ilu kharijan. He said here they were caused to kharijan, to be expelled. Or we could say to be deported. The idea that we're going to look at in this verse is the Qur'an and deportation. So they were caused to be deported. They are those who were caused to be deported, min diyarihim. So the next word is diyarihim. From, they were caused to be deported from diyarihim. And diyarihim is Majrurun bihi, to men, which is the jarun, and the heen is mudafun ilayhi. It's the second term of possession of the possessive construct. We have daddy as the first term of the construct, and heen is the second term of the construct, meaning mudafun ilayhi. Mudafun ilayhi. So the yadihin mean is jam'u dadin. It's the plural of dadin. The plural of dadin. And the meaning of it is manzilu al-mabniyu alladhi yaskunuhu an-nasu. Al-manzilu is we could say the house, some even say the mansion. But it's the house, the place that you lay for rest. And al-mabniyun would be the house that's well established or structured, that's built. Alladhi, which yaskunuhu an-nasu, which people live in it. So it's the home or the place where people live. It's a house, structured home or place where people live. So they are those who are caused to be deported or expelled from their structured home that they built, which they live in. And then we say hakin. Bigairi hakin. Bigairi is without hakin. Without hakin. And hakin is mudafun ilayhi. To gairi. Gairi would be the first term, mudaf. And hakin would be mudafun ilayhi. The mudaf is the construct, possessive construct. And the meaning is sababin musawwagin. Musawwagin. Sababin musawwagin. This is a justifiable, musawwagin, justifiable, we would say justifiable reason or cause. So we would read, they are those who were caused to be expelled from their places that they built, that people live in, which is their homes, without justifiable reason. Illa an yakulu Rabbuna Allahu. Illa, this illa, he says, is harfun istisna'un, which means an exception. But some of the scholars will say that the grammarians have said that this is not an exception in terms of it being what's going to come after. It's not an exception to what came before, meaning that there is no reason that they should be expelled. Anyone should be expelled without reason. No one should be expelled from their home without reason. So this is not an exception to it. This will basically be translated only that. The only reason which is not justifiable, that they give is they say, Rabbuna, our Lord or our guardian evolver is Allah. That's the only reason which is not justifiable. So I hope you understand the way I'm explaining this, illa. We would say only because they say. But it's without haq. So that's not a reason. You wouldn't say except because that's not a reason. So only because, I would say, like he said here. He said only because. He didn't say except. It's not an exception. One phrase is not an exception to the other. Only because, which I would say the same, agree with him. I'm not sure how I put it in the, we'll see how I put it in the reflection. Then the Qur'an goes on to say, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ Allahi. So daf'u, let's go back up. Sign daf'u. Yes. And if not, لَوْلَا, if not, daf'u. And daf'u is mubtada'un. Mubtada'un. When you have a mubtada'un, we look for the khabarun for a complete thought. The khabarun here is dropped of the daf'u. But there's some more explanation has to be explained here and understand what's being said. So daf'u, we're going to keep it right now as mubtada'un, grammatically meaning it's the subject. And the predicate is dropped. And the meaning of daf'u, daf'ullahi and nasa. So he has the whole expression here, daf'ullahi and nasa. So daf'u Allahi, so Allahi will be mudafun ilayhi, the second term possessive. The word comes before it is the first term possessive. Nothing comes between the first and second term possessive. And then he has an-nasa. An-nasa. So an-nasa, he said, is maf'ulun bihi to daf'u. Maf'ulun bihi to daf'u. I don't know how this video pops up here. I don't need a video. I don't know how this thing does this. Okay. Okay, let's see where we're at now. So now, he said, and nasa is maf'ulun bihi to daf'u, meaning the object of daf'u, which would mean daf'u is acting like a verb. It's acting like a verb. So the daf'u let's look at the meaning of daf'u. Daf'u would be raddu adha bi ba'dihi bi ba'di as-salihin. So this is the raddu, meaning the repulsion or the denial of the adha. And adha would be damage or hurt. So it's repelling or repulsion, denial of the hurt of some of them by some of the righteous. So some of them are being repelled. It repels the some by the righteous, by those who are righteous. So here we would say, if we use repel, then we would say Allah repels mankind. Allah repels mankind, it's saying here. He repels the hurt, the damage that's attributed to mankind by some of them of others, by some of others. I'm trying to be literal and make sense at the same time, which is a little difficult. Here he says, repelling some men by means of others. So this death rule is Radul Adhan. So he's repelling the hurt, the harm that will come to some by others who are righteous. Or those who are righteous are being repelled by others, which is more fitting with the syntax. The righteous are being repelled by others. And we have in the history, we know we have in the history of Islam, where in the history of Christianity, and in the history of Judaism, where we have righteous people are being repelled by hurt or damage or even expelled from their homeland or from their homes, simply because they are saying, our Lord is Allah. I'm not going to mention examples here, but there are examples in each that we can find. Especially the Muslims who were being, and then when they were being persecuted. This could be repelled persecution. They were being persecuted in their own land, in their own home. And they were sent to Ethiopia. They were in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Today it's called Saudi Arabia. And they were sent to Ethiopia, and there was a king that was a Christian. And he protected them. So here we have in the righteous being protected by another people. The Christians are being protected. Well, protecting the Muslims. And we can find the same in the Islamic history also. But let's see the principle here, the principle that's being applied. So it says some of them by others. Now, Hudimat, if Allah had not repelled people, some of them by others, especially by the righteous. And also that who had the idea of substitute we're going to find. Hudimat, we're saying that Hudimat, and Hudimat is Fitnul Madin. Fitnul Madin, and this tag here is called the Tatnis. It's the feminine tab. Tab and Tatnis, feminine tab. The tab and Marbutun is the tied tab. That's the tied tab. The tab Marbut. That's the tab that when it's used, it may be designating the feminine, but it's not called the feminine tab. This one is called the feminine tab, meaning she or it did something in the past tense. Hudimat. And the meaning of Hudimat is nukidat wa huribat. And nukidat is destroyed. They both have the idea of being destroyed and demolished. Hudimat. So it would say la hudimat, then surely this la here is called the harfun jawab. It's a response. It's the particle that's in response to the law. To law. This is the response. This is the condition. Harfu shart. That the law is showing a condition. If such and such, then la hudimat. So if Allah had not unas, substituted man or defended mankind, then hudimat is that it would have been, because it's in you have the na'ibu fa'al is sawami'u. The sawa'imu is the na'ibu fa'al, meaning it is the substitute of the subject of the verb. So this sawa'imu, we're going to look at the meaning here, would have been destroyed and demolished. So hudimat. So the sawa'imu would have been demolished and destroyed. That's the response. If this had not happened, then this would have happened. So sawami'u is muta'abbadu and nasiki. Muta'abbadu and nasiki. So this will be the devout rituals or ceremonies. The devout rituals or ceremonies would have been destroyed and demolished. And this would be the place of, I would include the places of the devout rituals, where the devout rituals were being performed, would have been destroyed. Where, and this is also not only the places, but the symbols, like the Kaaba. You know, the Kaaba is a symbol. No one goes inside the Kaaba. The Kaaba is the house in Mecca. You don't go inside to pray and perform rituals inside the Kaaba. The Kaaba itself is a symbol. So these type of, the words are escaping me right now, of symbolic, they're called, but these are religious symbols. They're religious symbols, sacred symbols. They would have been destroyed. Where biya'un, and biya'un is ma'tuf, meaning that it's ma'tuf to sawami'u. So sawami'u, where biya'un, ma'tuf, meaning that it's joined by the atfun and its sequence. It's conjunction of sequence. This where is a conjunction of sequence. So we would say the devout rituals as well as the I don't know, I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of it. The places like the Kaaba, the place that you offer sacrifices, Safa, Marwa, stoning, these are all sacred symbols in the religion. They would have been destroyed, as well as Biya'un, and Biya'un is Kanaisu would be churches. So here, see the conceptual idea here. So it's saying the churches. And where salawatun would be amkanu as-salati lil Yahudi. And that is the places of salat, prayer, or salat for the Jews. And they also have sacred symbols and relics that they have also. Where masajidu and masajidu, these are all matuf. These are all matuf to sawamil. So masajidu is the let's see. It is the jam'u masjidin. It's the plural of masjid. Mawadi'u as-salati wa fihi ruku'u wa sujudu wa huwa makanu khushu'i wa khudu'i. So it is the plural of masjid. Masajid is the plural of masjid, and it is the places of salat or prayer or worship, and in the salat is the bowing and the prostration, and it is the places of these words meaning places of humility, showing humility towards Allah, which in essence are the mosque. So the churches, the synagogues, and the mosque. And also with the symbols would all be destroyed. And all of it would be destroyed. If Allah had not repelled mankind, some of them with others. If Allah had not done that, then they would have been destroyed. Yeah, you know, in some places, the government, they have it that when you're in government places, you cannot wear religious symbols. We know they have this problem in some European countries, where if you have the government schools, the public schools that are ran by the government, you cannot wear religious symbols in the school. So, and there are some places, we know in the history of man, they have destroyed the idea or the concept of religion openly in the public. You cannot express religion in the public. And by surprise, there's some Muslim countries, you cannot express religion in the public. That's why some see what I'm doing here in the public. Because I'm on Facebook, I'm in the public. They say I'm not supposed to be doing this. I don't have permission to do this, or the great scholars don't do it, so I shouldn't do it. And there's some that will say that I shouldn't be writing reflections and commentary, nor should the modern students be writing them. These are religious, so-called religious people are saying, in the public like this. But we live in a country, as I have stated before, where we have the freedom of religion. We have the freedom of speech. We have the freedom of the press. We have the freedom of assembly. We have this. So even the political establishment allows this freedom, this open freedom. So where are they getting it from? What in the Bible, Qur'an, are they getting this idea that you are not to speak in the public about religion? Now, no one has to agree with me. You could be different. You don't have to agree. You don't have to follow. I have no coercive power over anyone, and very little influential power. But yet, I have the right. I have the right of freedom of speech to do what I'm doing. And I'm not causing a disturbance upon someone else's right in the public as I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, for the Muslims, I really don't owe anyone an explanation. But for the Muslims who are scholars who said I'm not supposed to do this, if you want to go by scholarship, which I don't have any kind of paper where I've gone to a school and have a sign that I'm qualified to do this. I have no paper from no school to say this, that I studied at a school or I studied under a teacher. That teacher has given me some kind of certificate to do this. Much of this I have done on my own, for my own curiosity, my own study. But I'm not doing anything of magic because I'm reading literally from another book. But as I read from the books, I put it together and write a reflection and a comment. And I'm showing sources and I'm showing my method. That's the main point. I'm showing you the method of what I'm doing. So you can't really accuse me of violating even scholarship, because I'm showing you exactly what I'm doing. And I'm showing you the method that I'm using to write the reflection. So I don't owe anyone an explanation, really. Not said arrogantly, but this has been a problem in the history of religion. You have a few people who are slow. The religious people are very slow. They're slow. With the advancement of man and the advancement of man's thinking, they lag behind. They lag behind the scientists, the free thinkers. They always lag behind, and they try to have control over man's thinking that he's not to advance in his thinking. He's not to say anything new. He has to repeat what has been said by the sheikh or by the pope or by someone in religion, and he can express himself beyond that. And when we find that, we find the society begins to fall. Oppression. That's an oppression of the mind. Just because really someone just voted you in and you think you have that power. And some people telling me I'm not supposed to do this, they can't even read Qur'an like this. They can't even correct me if I make mistakes because they can't read. I would say something, but I don't want to say anything. I might be hurting someone. Okay. So this is the idea, though. This is the subject and the context that we're speaking of. So it goes on and says, "Wa masajidu yuzkaru fihi wa fiha yuzkaru fiha." Yuzkaru here is yuntaqu bihi, meaning that it is spoken or articulated in it, in these places. In it, ismu Allahi. Ismu is the na'ibu fa'il, so it's the deputy subject or the substitute of the subject of the verb. So that makes yuzkaru, that's the verb. We go back, we find the verb. The verb is yuzkaru. So yuzkaru is a present tense verb, is a fi'lu mudari'un. Fi'lu mudari'un, so this would be in the passive. When you have a Dhamma on the first letter and a Fatha on the Ain, in the present tense, it becomes passive. When you have the Dhamma on the first letter and the Kasra on the middle letter, it's the passive in the past tense. It's passive in the past tense. So this is passive. So we say, when we say that is mentioned, the name of Allah is mentioned in them. We say in them, meaning the masjid, the salawat, and the biyawat. Allah's name is mentioned in them. Kathiran would be much. Much. It is mentioned much in them. Or spoken, or articulated. And Ismullahi is lafzi al-jalala, meaning the expressions of the Most High, of the High. And these are, it's al-jami'u, it's the plural to, or it's, it includes, al-jami'u, the meanings of the as-sifatillahi al-kamilati, meaning the perfect attributes of Allah. It includes, or altogether, in these names, the name of Allah, all of them together are the perfect attributes of Allah. He's just saying in terms of the name of Allah is mentioned. So it could be Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. All of these are the names of Allah. And to Him belong the most excellent names. So these names that are mentioned in these places, when we're speaking of the Creator, we're speaking of the Creator, but in all of the religious places of worship, and in the ceremonies and rituals, Allah's name is mentioned. So if we didn't have the protection of each other as religious people, then all of it will be destroyed. وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ here is fi'l mudari'un, and we have this nun shadda. Here is the harfun tawkid. It's a particle of emphasis to make it strong. Yansuranna. And this lam here is also added. It's the Jawab al-Qasam. Jawab al-Qasam is this lam, there is like an oath here, I swear. As though you're saying, I swear that He will help. That He will help. That and this Allah becomes the fa'il. So it says, Allah will help. I swear, and you're making it strong, that Allah will help. Allah will help. Yansuranna will be yukhalisanna lahu, meaning that those who are sincere to Him, that Allah will help. Those who are sincere to Him, man yansuruhu, who helps him. Here, he said, who helps him. Inna Allaha la qawiyyun azizun. And qawiyyun is qadirun, meaning powerful. Qadirun meaning powerful, and also the one who regulates. The whole creation is under His regulation. And azizun is also a word for qawiyyun, qadirun, meaning very powerful, strong and powerful. So surely Allah, la qawiyyun azizun, the strong and powerful. Okay, that's the meanings here, looking at the meanings and the grammar. All of this is going to be recorded, so go back and listen to the recording and try to follow the grammar for the beginning students, the students that's at the level of the grammar, and the more advanced students looking at the meanings. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a tafsir that I have been doing in the mornings after Fajr, and this I will be introducing to the more advanced classes, because what you're going to be doing in the more advanced classes is in a couple of weeks I'm going to, well, we could say even after the conference, which will be after Ramadan. We really get into it after Ramadan, because we have the Mahdi conference, and then after that, a couple of weeks, we have Ramadan, which we'll take a break from our weekend classes. So those of you who are listening on Facebook, you can get an idea about the Mahdi classes, because the more advanced group is at this level. So, and that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of rehearsing this for the more advanced group. They see how it's done. They see how it's done through repetition, and then they learn how to do the same. So what I'm going to do now, talking to the advanced group that's listening, is that I'm going to put you on your own in terms of writing the reflections and writing the using Qur'an, Bil Qur'an, using the dictionary here. And I'm going to give you this short tafsir here, Jalalain, to get you started. And I'm demonstrating today, and I do it a few more times, but I'm doing it in the mornings on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, you can go and get the recordings on Facebook also. And some of them I'm now putting it on YouTube. So go and put in Salim MuMin, and you'll see this on YouTube also. So these are places to see it now for the advanced students. So what you will be doing is I will give an assignment to the class, and you will end up doing the whole assignment without us going over it in the class. We may go over Qur'an, Bil Qur'an, but the other parts you will be responsible for, because I think you're at that point now. And from that, you will write a reflection and a commentary as I'm doing, and we're also using Imam W.D. Muhammad as one of the sources that we're also using. So with all of these sources, you'll be writing a reflection and a commentary. And I know some of you who follow Imam W.D. Muhammad, you got a problem with not quoting him and what have you, but we won't worry about that. We don't worry about that. We have to be free thinkers. So let us look at the verse here again, and then we're going to look at Jalalain. That's what I want to show you, Jalalain. So it reads, الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ إِلَّا أَنْ يَقُولُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَهُدِّمَتْ صَوَامِعُ وَبِيَعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدُ يُذْكَرُ فِيهَا اسْمُ اللَّهِ كَثِيرًا وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. So we have wahum. Now let me show you. He starts here. Wahum. He put the whom here because remember I was saying that alladhina will be the khabarun. So he's writing in the whom as the Mubtada'un. And Abu Faris also showed that. He showed that. Let me click back on it and show you, because now I can take my time. I'm not on the clock here. So remember, Abu Faris, he said, okay. Abu Faris, he said whom. Whom is the Mubtada'un that is dropped. That is dropped. So you see that here. So Jalalain is agreeing with him in that he is saying that he is saying that also whom is understood, meaning it is understood. It's ellipsis, it's understood. And they are those, وَهُمْ الَّذِينَ, and they are those أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ في الإخراج in their expulsion, in their deportation. They are those who were caused to leave from their homes, or they were caused to be expelled from their homes without reason of their expulsion. Fi al-ikhraj, without reason, without right. Haq is right. Haq is right, and it's a universal right. It's not just any right, it's a universal right. So there's no universal right for someone to be expelled. And we're speaking from the Qur'anic text, this Qur'anic text, to be expelled. So when we're talking about deportation now here in America, we have to go to the Qur'an. As Muslims, we go to the Qur'an and we look to see what does the Qur'an say about it. So this is just one of the verses that'll be used, but this word haq would be a very important word in the presentation, in our argumentation of deportation. Even under the Constitution of the United States. But we don't argue as Muslims, we argue as members of humanity. And Allah is giving us the argument and the logic for the argument here as an example in the Quran. So this is not a new thing, deportation. Ma ukhriju, they were not deported, illa an yakulu, only that they say, that's to say, biqawlihim, only because of their words, only because biqawlihim, of their saying or their word, Rabbuna Allahu. Now this has, we could say, a historical reference to it when we're looking at this being revealed to Muhammad the Prophet, the President, peace be upon him. It has a historical reference, you could say, to the Muslims directly. Even though I don't personally, I don't look at the Quran so much as the historical translation or the historical interpretation, even though the historical reference is there. And they were being expelled, the Muslims were being expelled or given problems or trouble only because they are saying that our Lord is Allah. And Allah, as I've said times before, is not a new word. It's not a new word. Allah is not a new word, but because they knew the word Allah. They knew Allah. And they knew Allah is the name of the deity that's the creator of the heavens, the earth, and everything. They knew that. So where's the problem? There were two problems the Muslims were faced with. One is they're saying, Rabbuna Allahu Wahdahu. Only. Him only. And it's only one. Wahdu. One. One Allah only. One deity only. That's our Lord. We don't have other lords. Rabbuna Allahu Wahdahu. Because the problem is in religion, and they were having, is that, yes, we recognize Allah. Muhammad the Prophet, his father's name was Abdullah. So Allah was not new. The problem was that he's the God only. He's the deity only. When they had other deities that they were recognizing also along with Allah. That's what we call shirk. Shirk is when you're making partners, association with Allah. So yes, you recognize Allah, but you're making associations with Allah. That's where the problem. That's the problem. The other problem is that, yes, we recognize Allah. Allah is the God. Allah is the creator. But when you say Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, now the problem starts. So those are two of the biggest problems that occurred and brought about them being expelled from their homes. Not imposing religion, because you can't impose religion on anyone. So the Muslims were not imposing religion on anyone. You're not to do that. You're not to impose. But like in this country, you shouldn't impose religion on anyone, especially children. And this is a hawk universally, where you find religious people anywhere in the earth. They should not impose religion on the children. For example, if a Muslim child attends a Christian school, you should not impose that on that child to be Christian. The child may be there to learn, have a curiosity to learn religion. So he goes to religious school. A child may have a curiosity to learn Hebrew. So he goes to the Jewish synagogue to learn Hebrew. But while the child is there, you should not impose Judaism on the child. Or you may be, a Christian may be interested in learning Arabic. You may be interested in learning Quranic Arabic. Even you coming and listening now, and I'm teaching now, I am not here to impose Islam on you. But in the process of you learning Quranic Arabic and you're sitting in this class, you're going to learn about Islam. But I can't say to you, you have to leave the class if you don't become a Muslim. I can't say that to you. As a Muslim, I cannot say that to you. This class is for Muslims only. I cannot say that to you. Even though I can say I'm targeting a certain people, which I am doing. I'm targeting a certain people to teach. I'm trying to give this to people who need it more than others. But if someone else comes into the class, I can't tell you to leave. No, I can't do that. If the class is open, I can't tell you to leave. And when you're here, I can't impose Islam on you. It's Bigayid al-Haq. This expression here, Bigayid al-Haq. And then tell you, if you don't become Muslim, and I'm renting a home to you, if you don't become Muslim, you have to leave. I'm going to put you out. So forth and so on. I'm giving you an example from Qur'an that can be paralleled with what's going on in this country. and other countries, not just this country, other countries where people are being expelled from their homes. وحده وهذا القول حق, and this saying is حق. ربنا الله وحده, this saying is right, it's truth, it's a universal reality that there's only one creator. If there were two, then each one would claim his own portion of the creation, and we would have two creations. We would not have the Tawheed. Tawheed is not in Allah, the Tawheed is in the creation itself. The Tawheed is in humanity, the oneness. So we have this concept, scientifically speaking, of oneness in the creation because we put it all together, we call it matter. M-A-T-T-E-R, matter. Matter is the concept of oneness, showing us this idea of oneness. So there are not two gods, because if there are two gods, there will be two matters. But all of it is connected. All of it is tied together as a system, as a whole system. But if it was not tied together as a whole system, we should be able to find two distinct systems because there are two distinct creators. Yeah, this how Qur'an invites us to science. It opens the mind and invites and it incites our curiosity to want to know, want to look. فالإخراج به إخراج بغير الحق. So thus, we're saying, is the expulsion in it is an expulsion without truth and reality. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْدَهُمْ, which we have translated. That's a piece of a phrase of the whole verse. He says badalun. See, badalun now he's defining as dafu. He's using badalun as dafu. We know the word badalun because badalu because it's in our grammar meaning substitute. So we would say if Allah had not substituted mankind, some of them. So badalu ba'din min an-nasi. Substituting some of mankind. He substituted some of mankind, or the substitution of some of mankind with others. Biba'din, with others. Biba'din. Or exchanged some with others. And if we look at also the history of man, the same people over the long history of man have not always been the people in leadership, have not always been the leaders in the world of humanity. The Africans had it at one time. They were the leaders, more advanced than anyone. The Germans were more advanced at one time. The Japanese are becoming advanced. The Americans have been advanced, been more advanced. It changes. India, the Indians were more advanced. Chinese were more advanced. So it's not just in one people. That's an idea, too, to take a look at. Allah, if Allah had not substituted some of them, some of mankind, and that substitution is brought about to protect. Yes. Those religious leaders who won't share, who won't come down and teach the common people. They only talk with high coded language, technical language that the common man can decipher. If Allah didn't bring about His word to the common man, so common people would get it, then it would have been destroyed. The churches, the mosques, all of it would be destroyed. So it changes. The point is, it changes hands. So, لَهُدِّمَتْ, he's saying, بِتَشْدِيد, by the shadda here, we know it's form 2, هُدِّمَتْ, but he's saying بِتَشْدِيد is لِتَكْسِير, meaning it belongs to the idea of augmentation. You have augmentation and بِتَخْفِيف, along with it being light. So you have many, it's showing many or repetitiveness, or augment, meaning that or exaggerating. These all goes in this idea of hudimat, and with also the idea of it being light. So the destruction could be overwhelming much, or destruction could also be light, like not so harsh, but still they would be destroyed. Gradually, you might say. So Ami'u, he said, Lirrahban. Lirrahban is belonging to the monks. The Sawami'u, the other, we were saying the Sawami'u are the devoutness of the rituals and the symbols. That also, here he said it also place that belongs to the monks, where the monks will go for worship. But Biya'un, and it is Kana'isu bin Nasara. This is the church belonging to the Christians. What Salawatun, it is the synagogue or the church or religious place, Kana'isu lil Yahudi bil Ibraniya. It is the synagogue of the Jews with the Hebrews, or with Hebrew, or the Hebraic Jews. But Masajidu lil Muslimina, and that belongs to the Muslim. So in essence, these places, houses of worship. Places, we could say, places and houses of worship. Yuzkaru fiha, that is to say, al-mawadi'u al-madhkuratu, meaning the places where it is mentioned, ismullahi kathiran, the places where the name of Allah is mentioned much. Wa tanqati'u al-ibadatu bi kharabiha, and it would be, and the worship, the rituals, the forms of worship, salat and all, would be cut off by its, because of its destruction, or their destruction. So if these houses were destroyed, if these places are destroyed, they hold people together. The church is a place, the symbols that's in the church, even though each religion has its own symbols, its own religious symbols and traditions and all, that's what holds the religious people together. If it's all destroyed, if they destroy that, then there's a chance that worship itself will be destroyed. because of it. So as religious people, reading this from Qur'an now, as religious people, we are not to tear down other religious places. We're not to do that. Muslims are not to tear down churches. In fact, we're to protect churches from those who don't believe, who don't have religion at all, if we find that they're tearing down churches. That we also should know, because that's going on too in the world, where we have destruction, where people are destroying religious places of worship. وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ. He says, I yansuru dinahu. Meaning, when we say help him, we know Allah doesn't need help. So when you read this, Allah will help he who helps him. No, Allah doesn't need help. So what does it mean? He said it means yansuru dinahu, means who helps in terms of his religion, who helps establishes the religion and keep the religion established. Not just Islam, but religion has to be kept in the world. And the destruction of religion comes in more than just destroying the places of worship. Inna Allaha laqawiyyun. He has power ala khalqihi, over his creation. Azizun is mani'un fi sultanihi wa kudratihi. He has power in his authority and in his, we would say, power to regulate. If we could see the idea of how Allah regulates things in his creation. Everything is given its measure. This Qudra. Qudra has the idea of measure. Everything is given its measure. And this is Allah. Allah has the power and he has the regulation. So that is from this is Jalalain. So those of you who are the advanced students, you can see how Jalalain uses a few words. It's not a lot of words like you would get from Ibn Kathir. Now we use Ibn Kathir because Ibn Kathir's writing is easy to read. If you can read Ibn Kathir, which many of you can now, you come back to Jalalain. I'll bring you back to Jalalain. Then with Jalalain, I'll put you on your own because it's just a few words. So we'll do this a couple of times in the class. We'll use Jalalain so that I'm going to get you on your own with Jalalain. Then I'll bring you back to Ibn Kathir. We'll use, or some of the others, Ibn Kathir. I'm going to try to get you on solid ground. If you can get Ibn Kathir, Jalalain Ibn Kathir, then you can go to Shawkani and to also Shawkani and the other tafsir we're using. I can't think of his name right now. Then eventually someone like Ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi is still a little it's a little difficult. But the steps would be bring you back on your own. You would take the dictionary and you're going to take Jalalain, and then you would take Qur'an bil Qur'an. And that's, with that you will have a foundation. It'll give you a foundation for writing a reflection and commentary. Now there are other sources. There's Lisan al-Arab still, the dictionary Lisan al-Arab that we use every now and then. And also there's the Quranic dictionary that we're taking a look at. But I'm trying to find easy readings for you first. To practice reflecting on the Qur'an with sources. That's what you're doing, and then you write a reflection and a commentary from it. So here is the reflection that I wrote from it, and you will see I'm using both Abu Faris, Dahdah, and Jalalain to write the reflection. So I'm saying there are those, you see I took the whom that both of them showed, so I put it in the reflection. There are those who were called to be expelled. I could say called to be expelled or deported, if I want to bring it home. Deported from the established places that mankind resides without justifiable reason or cause. Only that, see, I use only that instead of illa, except, but only that they say, our guardian evolver is Allah alone. So you can see where I took that from Jalalain, showing alone. If it was not for Allah, this should be taken out, and if it was not for Allah substituting, I'm saying, some people over others that are righteous, then places where monks, so I'm using Ruhban, for monks, where monks are devout in their ceremonies, Christian churches, Jewish synagogues or Hebrews, and the mosque of the Muslims, wherever the name of Allah is mentioned much in prayer and rituals, will be cut out, and the places of worship will be destroyed and demolished. So this is kind of a long statement here. But as if we start here, if it should be then I should put then here. Everything has to be edited so we can get a good a reading from it. Then I will have to put in such and such will be cut out. Then worship will be cut out, or use another word here. And the places of worship will be destroyed and demolished. So this is the idea of the reflection that I have written from both. And this is the second part of the verse. I'm saying here, surely Allah will help those who are sincere to Him and sincere in helping establish religion. You see how I wrote that with religion, not helping Allah, but establish religion. And this is all religion. Surely Allah is powerful in His authority in regulating His creation, or in regulating the affairs in His creation, or of His creation, or regulating affairs. So still, there's some editing could be done as I'm writing. Sometimes you get the writing, trying to find the words, the right words, and of course you're going to write it 3 or 4 times. It's still edited. Everyone has to be edited. So it's not perfect. And I'm not giving this to the world to say you have to follow this. This is the reflection, so follow it. No. But it's based on the Qur'an, and it makes sense from the verse itself, from the Arabic text. Because the Qur'an cannot be translated from Arabic to English directly. The Arabic is too rich. It's too broad and rich to get a direct translation with the same clarity. This is still not You can't compare this to the Quranic text, this reflection. Then, in the commentary portion, I'm saying, let there be no contention between religious people, especially those who share in the heavenly scriptures and have a legitimate religion from Allah. Those that share in the heavenly scriptures are the Muslim, the Christian, and the Jew. Our contention is against those who are ungodly and work against the religious establishments and the good life that Allah created for all of us. This religion, al-Islam, the Qur'an, promotes the freedom of religion. We are to aid and protect those who are persecuted in religion, and we are to protect their places of worship. This we're getting from the Qur'an itself and the demonstrated life of Muhammad the Prophet, the praise and peace be upon him. But this is for all of us, because Allah is addressing all of mankind. And all of us in religion, we have to protect each other. We are not to destroy edifices that were built for the worship of Allah, the Creator. Allah, the Creator. In case Christians or someone is listening, not Allah, just the Allah of the Muslim, just the Allah, the Creator, that was established by other religious people. So we're not to destroy any church or synagogue that was established by other religious people. That's why you see as Islam began to spread and become populated throughout the world, there were some places where you find there were Christians there before, like here in the United States. Here in the United States, you have many of the churches of the Catholic churches and schools that are being closed. And the places were built. They were built for the worship of Allah, the Creator. So Muslims are buying, and these populated Muslims are becoming more populated in America. So it's not a circumstance that Muslims are running Catholics out of America. No, the interest perhaps or the population in certain areas are not as much as before, or for whatever other reasons, the Catholics are selling some of their churches. So that when the Muslims buy the church, the Muslims can't tear the churches down. And they can't change the church. They can't refigure the church. You can expand on the church, and inside you can do things in the church, renovate in order to make it comfortable for Muslim worship, but you can't destroy the church itself. That's why the watchtower became the place for, or the watchtower became the place you call the adhan. So where they had the bell calling people to prayer, the muezzin, that is used for the, someone help me with the word now. These words escape me. For the Muslim. The Muslims, the churches were the one that first had the dome, the look of the dome, the square building with the dome on top. So the Muslims couldn't destroy that when the Muslims became the populist group. And there are some places in the world, like Spain, where there are buildings that were churches that became mosques, and now they're back to churches because of the change of the population of the people. They didn't destroy them. They're not destroyed. And they're held, they're great places that in religion that are held. You're not to destroy these places. Religious people are not to destroy religious places. I'm showing that example. And there are cases in history where Muslims were becoming populated. that they shared the church. They would share the church. Muslims and Christians would share the church as a church and a mosque. And there's a case also where Muslims were becoming very populated, and the leader did not want to pray in the church, not because of what was inside the church, but he did not want the Muslims to follow him in praying in the church and overpopulate the Christians in the church and kind of push them out. So in that place, there was a mosque built next to the church, to their place of worship. This has occurred in history. And now, because of technology, we can have structures built for the place of worship that the Muslim, the Christian, or the Jew could share. And whatever signs or symbols you want or you need, that you could, with technology, you could bring those things up, and then when you're done, you take them down. And the place could be shared. As the population grows in Islam, Islam is the fastest growing religion in America. So as the Islamic religion grows and becomes heavily populated, it's not necessary that we tear down churches or anything, but we could use them also, especially if, like in the case I just mentioned with the Catholics, that they no longer have use for them because they don't have the population for them. This goes on, and this is taken from this verse that Muslims are not to destroy these places that have been built for the worship of Allah. So we are to share this land, the earth, as peaceful neighbors all over this earth. This earth belongs to Allah. So even the political body, even we take this from the religious text and we use it as our argument in the political arena, saying that on the international scale now, in the international law, that we have to find laws where we all have to share this land as peaceful neighbors, and that we can move in and out of these lands if we find interests that take us to another land. Therefore, religious people, of all people, religious people are not to participate in the act of deportation. And I can state examples in the history of religious people, especially those who are of the heavenly scriptures, where they have experienced prejudice against them and have caused them to be put out. Even Christians. Christians should never practice being prejudiced. Minarets, yes, the minaret. Being prejudiced. When Mary, the mother of Jesus, received prejudice against her, that she had to go and have her child born amongst animals. So if the Christians understand that, they should understand that they should never practice or participate in the act of deportation. Yes. I will say for the Muslim also, which I did earlier. And the Jew, of all people, the Jew. How often, how many times have they been put out? They have no business participating in the act of deportation or expulsion of people from their homes. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I thank you for listening today. and I will open for any questions that you may have on the webinar. I'm sorry, those of you that are on the Facebook, I can't see who you are because I'm sharing the screen, and I can't see your questions if you have them. But if you ask a question, write it in, then perhaps I can answer it. Next week in our presentation, I can answer your question, or I can write an answer if it's not too much. So if you have a question, you can press *6 to ask your question. And remember, don't forget, we have the Mali Conference, Quranic Conference, April the 27th through the 29th, our annual conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm urging you all to register for the conference. We need you to register for the conference. It's our 10th anniversary. We've been doing this for 10 years or more, perhaps 12 years. We were doing this a couple of years before we had our first conference. But we'll use our conference as our demarcation of how long we have been doing this, and this will be for 10 years. And our first conference was in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's why we're going back there for our conference this year. We've been very successful with our conferences for the past 10 years. So I'm praying and hoping that you will all attend this conference also. It's going to be very rewarding. We have our culture night. There's a play that's written by Imam Benjamin Bilal, directed and acted by Imam Benjamin Bilal. And in the play, we're going to be featuring the Matt, who has written songs, a Mali student that has written songs based upon Quranic verses. Also, the music, a live band headed by a Mali student, Amir Mahdi. That's all of this will be culture night. It's going to be an expression. It's going to be an expression of our own experience as Muslims here in the United States of America. You know, I went to the Jazz Festival here in Detroit. They have them every year. And many times you go to the Jazz Festival and you see the musicians, they're playing songs that are written by someone else. It's not uncommon to go to the Jazz Festival and they're playing a song by Coltrane or someone, Charlie Bird Parker or Miles Davis, or they may even hear someone playing, the pianist, Herbie Hancock. For this time, it was Herbie Hancock. But all of the jazz musicians were playing their own songs that they had written themselves. They were not playing songs of other people. That was written by other people. They all were playing their own songs. So with the technology today, with the knowledge today, we do not have to imitate the culture of another people. We're writing songs, doing plays. We're going to be doing film pretty soon. That's an expression from our own culture, our own experience here in America. Just the time that we're moving in now as Muslims. So we're going to have a true culture night Friday evening. And we're going to have presentations looking over the 10 years that we've been having the conferences, and the themes of the 10 years, we're going to have our scholarly presenters presenting on those themes. And we're going to have workshops. And we have our dinner Saturday evening. We're going to have our awards banquet dinner. And we're going to have students traditionally who receive certificates for being in the Mali program. They receive their certificates, and these students have started with Abataf, the alphabet, and they are now reading like Abu Faris. they'll move to that level that they will begin to read Abu Fars, the grammar, with the Arabic nomenclature. That's the Arabic level 1. This is Arabic level 2 that we're looking at now. Arabic level 2. So we have many students that's on this level also. But the first group, they will be receiving their certificates. Perhaps we'll see how the students do on their own, and they do well, they will receive the Arabic certificates for Arabic level 2, meaning that they can read the Qur'an themselves, they can look and see what others have said, they can look and see what the Imam have said, and they can write a reflection and a commentary themselves. That's Arabic level 2. So we have some, I'm sure they will be ready to receive certificates on that level by next year, inshallah. This is our Mali conference. I see no one has pressed *6 on their phone, so you have no questions. I thank you again for coming and listening in with us. Peace be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.